Look around you. Really look. What do you see? You see a society of fragile, anxious, over-medicated pedestrians walking on eggshells. You see a world terrified of being offended, a world where safety is the only god and comfort is the only currency. But if you look closely, right in the cracks of this plastic utopia, you will see a glitch. There is a specific demographic walking among us that seems immune to the virus. They don't panic when the Wi-Fi disconnects. They don't look for a manager when things go wrong. They don't care about your feelings, and they certainly don't care about your approval. They are the forgotten generation, the middle child of history, born between 1965 and 1980. We call them Generation X, but that is just a label. A better name would be the last feral humans. Listen to me carefully. The algorithm is designed to bury content that promotes dangerous independence. It wants you weak. It wants you dependent. Prove to the machine that you are still awake. Smash the like button right now. Do it. Force this signal through the noise. Why are they different? Why are they so hard to domesticate? Because they are the last biological link to a world without safety nets. They are the bridge between the analog Wild West and the digital prison you live in today. While boomers were buying the system and millennials were breaking under the weight of it, Gen X was in the backyard building a bomb unsupervised. To understand why you feel so weak today, you must first understand how they were built to be strong. To understand the creature, you must study the habitat. Let's go back to 1978 or 1984. The world was analog, it was physical, and above all, it was unsupervised. If you are under 30, you cannot comprehend the silence of that era. Today, a child is a tracked asset, GPS on the wrist, cameras in the classroom, a digital umbilical cord that never breaks. If a modern child is 5 minutes late, the parents panic. Police are called. Gen X? They were the latchkey kids. The name comes from the house key they wore on a shoelace around their necks. At 7 years old, they walked home alone. They unlocked the empty house. They entered the silence. There were no adults, no snacks prepared, no "how was your day, sweetie?" Just the hum of the refrigerator and a list of chores. This was not neglect. This was Spartan training. It forced a biological adaptation that has been deleted from the modern genome: self-reliance. If they were hungry, they had to cook with fire. If they were bored, they had to invent with dirt and sticks. If they got hurt, they cleaned the wound and kept playing, because crying meant the game was over. The playground itself was a death trap. Metal slides that burned your skin, concrete floors, rusty merry-go-rounds designed to launch you into orbit. Safety was not a law. Safety was a suggestion. And in that chaos, they learned physics. They learned risk assessment. They learned that actions have immediate, painful consequences. They didn't learn resilience from a meditation app. They learned it because when you fell off the monkey bars, nobody picked you up. You stood up, you dusted off the blood, and you climbed back up. This is why they look at your anxiety with confusion. They were forged in a fire you have never even felt. But the playground was just the beginning. As they grew, they watched the curtain fall. The boomers promised them a world of stability. Go to school, get a job, get married, retire. It was a beautiful story. And then Gen X watched the story bleed. They were the first generation to witness the mass disintegration of the family unit. Divorce rates skyrocketed. The happy home became a courtroom battle. They watched the space shuttle Challenger explode on live television in their classrooms. The promise of technology vaporized in seconds. They watched the Berlin Wall, the Cold War, the threat of nuclear annihilation hanging over their heads every single day. Duck and cover, they told them, as if a wooden desk would save you from the sun. They realized early on, the adults are lying. The institutions are incompetent. The government cannot save you. The corporation does not love you. This trauma created a psychological superpower, the bullshit detector. You cannot manipulate a Gen Xer with emotional marketing. You cannot guilt trip them with social justice slogans. You cannot scare them with a crisis. They have been expecting the apocalypse since 1985. When you scream at them, when you try to cancel them, they don't get angry. They don't apologize. They just give you that look, that exhausted, slightly amused stare, and they utter the single most powerful word in the English language, whatever. That is not apathy. That is armor. It is the sound of a human being who has accepted that the world is chaos and decided to navigate it anyway. While millennials want to fix the system and Zoomers want to destroy the system, Gen X is just waiting for the system to crash so they can reboot it manually. They are the hybrid species, the only living humans who speak both languages fluently, analog and digital. They remember the smell of a library card. They remember the friction of having to memorize a phone number because it wasn't saved in a cloud. They know how to wait. They know how to be bored. But do not mistake their analog roots for obsolescence. Who do you think built the internet? Who wrote the code for the app you are scrolling right now? Who built the servers that host your digital life? It wasn't the digital natives, it was the digital immigrants. Gen X built the matrix, but they refused to plug themselves into it. They treat technology as a tool, not a lifestyle. To them, a computer is a hammer. You use it to build something and then you put it down. To you, the computer is a mirror. You use it to look at yourself, hoping someone else is looking too. This is why they are the silent architects of the modern world. While everyone else is screaming for attention, posting their hustle on LinkedIn, and filming their breakdowns on TikTok, Gen X is in the back room, keeping the lights on. They don't want a participation trophy. They don't want a shout-out. They want the check to clear. They are mercenaries of competence. If you give them a job, they won't ask for a mental health day because the vibe is off. They will just get it done. And then they will vanish back into the shadows. Because unlike you, they don't need an audience to exist. They are often called the forgotten generation. The media ignores them. The politicians forget them. And here is the secret. They like it that way. In a world where everyone is fighting for 15 seconds of fame, Gen X understands the strategic value of being invisible. They grew up in the last era of human history where you could make a mistake and it didn't follow you forever. There was no cloud. There was no timeline. There was no cancel culture. If you did something stupid in 1992, it stayed in 1992. It was a rumor, a story, not a 4K video uploaded to a server farm in Utah. This gave them a freedom you will never know. The freedom to fail. The freedom to be offensive. The freedom to be wrong. They lived without the constant performance anxiety of a camera lens. Today, you curate your life. You edit your personality.
You are terrified of saying the wrong word because the mob is watching. Gen X doesn't curate, they exist. They know that privacy is the ultimate luxury. While you trade your data for free apps, they are shredding the paper trail. They are the ghosts in the machine, and ghosts are very hard to kill.
So here is the uncomfortable truth. You look at Generation X and you call them cynical, you call them distant, but deep down, you are jealous. You are jealous of their freedom. You are jealous of their thickness of skin. You are jealous that they can sit in a room alone without a device and be completely fine with their own thoughts. They are the last dangerous generation because they are the last generation that cannot be fully controlled. They have the one thing you desperately need: sovereignty. So stop scrolling, stop crying about the algorithm, stop waiting for a hero. Look at the gray-haired man fixing his own car. Look at the woman who doesn't post her lunch. Learn from them. Adopt the latchkey mindset. No one is coming to save you. The door is locked. The house is empty. Handle it. If this transmission woke you up, do not just consume it, act on it. Subscribe to the channel. Join the few who are actually awake. And if you think you can survive without the comfort, drop a comment below. Tell me, I am ready. End of transmission.